Yeah. So my Dynasty buy that I'm getting, I know this price tag is going to be a little pricey here, but I'm going with Sam Laporta, um, tight end out of Detroit. If you don't know that, I don't know where you've been hiding under a rock. So as of right now, as far as ADP goes on Sleeper, he's the tight end three off of the board. Looking at last year, he finishes as tight end seven. So 60 receptions, 83 targets, 726 yards, and seven touchdowns. The main complaint with Sam Laporta, especially his rookie year, and probably coming into last year, was he was very touchdown dependent. And I think, maybe last year we saw a little bit more stability in terms of receptions. I know he didn't break 100 targets, but 93 targets as a tight end is pretty hefty, I feel like. And you want those guys that are going to be involved in the offense. I don't think Sam Laporta is going anywhere. And overall, even if he is touchdown dependent, guess who Jared Goff likes to throw the ball to in the red zone? And that is Sam Laporta. It's either him or Amon-Ra. It's every time. JMO can get his explosive plays. We talked about JMO a little bit earlier when we were talking about Pickens, but you know, Laporta is going to be that stable force. He's going to get open. He's going to be where he needs to be. And Jared Goff loves that. Jared Goff is the stable quarterback who's not moving the pocket a lot. He needs his guys to be where they need to be on time and open. And that is what Sam Laporta is good at. I think a lot of people probably, you know, look at his rookie season and, they're like, oh, well, he was the tight end. One, he had 120 targets that year as a rookie tight end, which is insane, and 10 touchdowns. So, last year, taking the step back to 80 or, 83, 93 targets, wherever it was at, and seven touchdowns, you know, that's still a healthy range. And he finished as the tight end seven. And at this point, he's already had a number one finish. So that's a big checkbox there for tight ends in any dynasty format. And I think, like we said earlier, I think he's stable. I don't think he's going anywhere. We have this conversation. I think me and you have had it several years in a row now of where do you put George Kittle in, right? George Kittle, when he plays, is elite. We know that, especially when there's nobody else there with him. When Ayuk went down or when Debo was down and he didn't have as much competition, they fed Kittle all year. But he is injury prone. As much as we want to say it, he is injury prone. And so for me, if I'm sitting on George Kittle and somebody's like dying to have him, I'm willing to move him for Laporta, even if I've got to add something to it. Honestly, I mean, that age difference, the stability that he brings, he's on a great offense. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I think you want one of those top, like, 7 to 8 tight ends, which he's finished there both years of his NFL career. So give me that shot. Give me the stability at tight end to where I'm not having to worry about, if I'm playing, pick one, Jawan Johnson or Taysom Hill or anybody in that tier, because I have my tight end that's plug and play every week.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you mentioned Kittle, Tyler, and what the value is there. I mean, Kittle's almost 32.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporta's 24.
Yeah.
Like, you could get easily 6 years of Sam Laporta just being a constant top 10 tight end. So as far as it goes for Dynasty, I'm more than happy to pay up to go get him. And really, when we step back and look, yeah, the fantasy finish wasn't necessarily that great last year. I'll throw up the sheet here again. He had 7 touchdowns, 726 yards, 60 receptions on 83 targets, finishes tight end 7 overall. But really, when we look at the box score and kind of look at what happened, I don't know if you remember, but the Lions were really dang good last year, and they won a lot of games, especially early, where they were blowing people out. I mean, yeah, we had the great Rams game to start the year where it was overtime. Then they lost to the Bucks. They come back. They beat the Cowboys 47-9. They beat the Titans 52-14. They beat the they beat the Seahawks 42-29. It's like a lot of these games were over, and he didn't really produce anything because they were winning by 3 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter. So he didn't have to do anything. I'm not really scared of that because when you go back and look at the end of the year, look at how he finished. I mean, week 15, 15 points. Week 16, 12 points. Week 17, 15 points. Week 18, 10 points. So like he had some good fantasy finishes to close out the year. It's only his second year. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens with this offense. Does Ben Johnson leaving create a hole or a void? I don't suddenly think that the Lions are going to be bad overnight. I do think Ben Johnson was really good. Maybe there is some slight regression, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to correlate with Sam Laporta playing poorly. I mean, you mentioned going from tight end 1 overall his rookie year to tight end 7 last year. The big issue was he touchdown dependent? Well, he had 10 in year 1 and he had 7 last year. That's not that difference. The big thing is he didn't have the receptions. I mean, he had 60 receptions last year, 86 in the rookie year. I absolutely think he could float around that 70 to 80 number again, get the yards up closer to 900, and we're right back at that same fantasy finish. So Laporta is someone I'm absolutely in on. He's my tight end 3. You mentioned it's going to be an expensive buy, but go buy Sam Laporta. I think it makes sense, especially if you need a tight end and you're a team that's ready to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you brought up the games at the end of the year there. When you're sitting there, sorry, excuse me. When you're sitting there and at the end of the year, you're talking about 14, 12 points at the end of the year, 15, what all. That doesn't sound like a lot. But when you have a tight end that is able to get you that production, and then you go to a team that doesn't have a tight end that can give you that, and you're hoping for like 4 on a week, it's huge. Like if you have a tight end that's averaging 10 points or more, that's helping you drastically. We always like to see, the big games. Kittle can get you 20-some point games, 30-some point games. You see wide receivers hitting the 40s or 50s and all this, that, and the other. Like, to me, I don't even need all that. I don't need the flashiness at tight end. I want a stable asset. And I know that if I'm getting Sam Laporta, he's 24. I know as long as his situation stays the same, he's going to produce about the same. I'm not really worried about Ben Johnson leaving. They kind of promoted from within, if I understand correctly. And I believe in Dan Campbell, in terms of, I think he's built a good roster. And let's also not forget too, you were talking about the back half of the year there and how he started producing more. Well, what happened? All of the defense got hurt. They had to get him more involved because they weren't blowing people out anymore. So he had to become involved. And I'm not saying that, the Lions defense is still going to be hurt or they'll have as many injuries, but those injuries take time to recover. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, he's running around now, but people are still saying he doesn't look the same. So if their defense, if they regress at all, and they're not this elite defense where they stop the Cowboys, 47-9 or whatever like that, and this game becomes more competitive, Laporta is going to have to be involved. He just is. And to me, I'm willing to take the bet, even if it's expensive, and I want Sam Laporta on my team.
Yeah, because it's ultimately going to be the player that you don't have to worry about starting going forward. He's going to solve that position, especially if you're in any type of tight end premium league. Now, the big issue is will he be available? That's going to be league dependent. I mean, if we went and bought him this offseason, I believe, on a team we both co-manage, and it was just the perfect storm. It was a guy who was looking to rebuild. We didn't have a tight end, and we said, hey, let's make the move. Let's go all in. We push the chips in. Now our team looks like one of the best in the league. So we're really excited to see what he can do. I mean, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're actually buying these players when we're telling you guys to buy them. So I have no problem with, pushing the chips in and going after Laporta. But anything else you want to add, Tyler, or you want to jump to the question we got in the chat?
I would just want to pull up Chris's question here. He brings up a good thing. You trust good players on good teams. Is Laporta a good player? Yes, obviously. Are the Lions a good team? Yes, obviously. That's end of the question. Trust the good players on good teams. It's going to work out. And, at the end of the day, I think you'll end up ahead if you've got that stable tight end production.